Yeah, let's just look around the Ascot. I think what I like about it is that it's a standard bike. Like it's, and I think Honda was trying to build a commuter, and I think this is a very basic commuter. But to me, man, if this thing had a bigger gas tank and perhaps a fuel gauge or something like that, this would make a great touring bike. And I think the touring bikes are what a lot of people like. But man, this thing is just so cool. And that V-twin is just fantastic. It's such a fantastic little V-twin. And it sounds good. Look at that, I got my little blinkers. You know, I haven't done a lot of stuff to this. I haven't even like detailed it or cleaned it. And of course I went through 2 batteries. I screwed up one battery, and now I put in a new battery, which is kind of cool. I can just kind of pop this out. And look at this, 13.7. This is a nice idea. And you can push it and get the readout. But I like that they have the contour going into the plastic here. And this side of the plastic is in good shape. But when you go to this side, you can see like a faded. And I'm just going to leave it like that. And I mean, it looks just so cool. And look at this. Like, you see this in my Honda SH150 as well. It's a swooping line that Honda likes to do. It goes like this. It's like an S-curve of a human spine. It's kind of cool. Honda did the same thing with the SH150. It's like a swoop. The SH150 is more like a wave. But this one's like the spine of it, the S-curve of the spine. And stock exhaust, nice and warm. I would like to replace these, but the ones I've seen, they have a canister which kind of pops out here, and I don't want to lose anything here. But this one's got a rack, and a lot of people remove it. It looks sportier without the rack, but I don't mind it. I think it's a, you know, this thing was a commuter. It was a commuter bike competing with the CX500. I guess it also competed with the Yamaha Sika, I believe. The Sika is another bike I'd like to get, but I haven't gotten my hands on one. I did ride one a while ago. Is my rectifier okay? Oh, it's because my battery is not in. That's fine. And this one's got a center stand and kickstand right off the bat. The weird thing about the kickstand is that it's really up front. I've never seen a kickstand so far forward. And look at this, it's got like a little rubber thing here. I'm not sure what's the purpose of that, the rubber thing. So it doesn't make noise as you put it down. That's kind of clever. And you have a lockable toolkit here. And one of the mistakes I made before was I replaced the spark plugs right here, one. And then on this cylinder, there's a spark plug in the back there. That's a pain to get. So I'd have to remove the airbox to get to that. And on this one, you have a spark plug in the front and one on the right side. And as you guys know, I replaced the carburetor on this. That was a pain. That was expensive. That was like $140. You also have your idle adjustment here. I am missing a bolt that I have to get. This is a 6-speed transmission. It's kind of fantastic for the year that they had a 6-speed. The VT700 also was a 6-speed, but that's the golden child right here. This little shaft drive. That's what I find this thing to be fascinating. And I think a lot of people like the chain-driven stuff, but I like the shaft drives. And look at this, the tires, the wheels, really good shape. And I got plenty of thread, but the tires are old, so I have to replace them. 18-inch tires on both. 18-inch, that's huge. Front brake, I need to really work on it. But, and of course I redid the seat, and I think it looks pretty good. It's my first seat. I haven't adjusted the valves, but I will do that. The forks have seen better days, but they're not leaking. They're just old, and I imagine that the oil inside is just terrible. I had a hard time removing the fork seals on my Shadow. The Shadow, like the clips that hold the fork seals, were rusted in. I could not budge those. It took me a long time to get it out. I hope that this one's not going to be as hard. Very simple bike. Very cool. Very cool bike. That's actually a little chunk of fuse. And of course you have your fuses, your more important fuses here, with 2 bolts here to pop this out. You have your dummy lights here. Very simple instrumentation. I mean, just the overview of the bike is just kind of incredible, but it's really one of these bikes that I think I get on it and I just think, man, this is what 1983 was like. This is what bikes were at the time. And when you like compare it to bikes these days, the riding experience, it's almost removed. You know, it's as if like we're watching TV. It's we're more observers than riders. And this thing is just, it just gives you the experience. And it's so light. You know, when did all of these bikes decide to become these behemoths? You know, this one's got a very low seat height. Everything about it is like very easy to... Oh, this is a pain. This key with the gloves. Ugh. You do have a choke as well. But I'd like to get some wider handlebars. That might be a nice thing to do. Listen to that. That's a V-twin. That's a very good V-twin. And this is a 500cc. It's like 420 pounds. Wet. 420 pounds. Think about it. With a shaft drive. You just don't get this sort of quality. And this is a very high revving bike. It's sporty, but at the same time it feels like you can commute on it. It's narrow. It feels like you're riding like a Super Sherpa from Kawasaki. If you want to get a shaft driven bike, you're going to have to get a Super Tenere, BMW GS, and it's usually like bikes that have... Look at that sound. They're very expensive, like the open class adventure bikes and the sport touring bikes all have shaft drives. BMW, the Yamaha Super Tenere, what else? All the Harleys. No, the Harleys have a belt drive system. I don't know why. But the shaft driven stuff is usually... These days, it's for bikes that cost a lot of money. And I've always wondered, like, man, can't they put a shaft drive in the middleweight? And then I started researching bikes. And I knew about the CX500 because I've always wanted one. But what happens with the CX500 is that the prices on those climbed up so much. And all the hipsters bought so many of them, and they turned them into these cafe racers. Really cool projects. And sometimes you get like a guy that's selling his CX500 because he started like modding it and then realized how much work it was going to be. And I don't want those. I really would just like to get a stock one. So I was looking at the CX500. I like the standard one. Then they have the custom one that I don't like as much. And then they have the GL500. And those are all like shaft driven 500cc V-twin sideways. Kind of like as if Honda was trying to you know, make a Moto Guzzi clone. So they built that with a shaft drive, and I thought, man, that would be a great bike to kind of keep, you know, and have a nice shaft drive. But the prices were too high. Listen to this thing purr. Man, This bike sounds so good, and when you compare it to the CX500, the reason you want to get a V-twin is that it sounds so much better. The V-twin on the CX sounds kind of like a wimpy, weird bike. This is a proper V-twin sound. The one thing that I believe they messed up on is the gas tank should be a little bit bigger on this. The gas tank is abnormally small for such a bike. Hey, a motorcycle. Look at this guy. Look at that. Oh, it's a scooter. That guy had a Bergman. Look at that. That's kind of odd. You just don't see those guys. My goodness, 2 motorcycles in a row. What the hell? Those guys must be together or something. Man, I've never seen that. It's usually just me around here. Made me look at these 80s Hondas and Yamahas. I'm not so much into the Kawasaki's, but because they're so good. These things are just so darn good. 6,000, 6.5 thousand, 6,000. So this bike is just very free revving. Two gallons. 2.08, and I only got 50 or 60 miles on the tank. I was actually expecting 100. This is Burton. What are you doing? Hey, Prius. Well, guys, that's the Honda Ascot from 1983. I hope you enjoyed it. Today's freezing. I'm freezing, so I'm gonna go home, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.